My spouse, whom I have been married to for 2 years, has undergone a drastic transformation in the past few weeks. She was once affectionate, committed to starting a family, and entirely reliable. But she has now become a dishonest, unfaithful individual who points the finger at me for her infidelity. The abrupt shift in her behavior began 3 weeks ago. I was elated and believed that our relationship was flourishing. We were discussing getting another pet and revising our honeymoon plans because the pandemic had disrupted our initial arrangements. However, everything changed on Friday. I sensed that something was amiss and even mentioned it to my mother during our conversation. "I have a terrible feeling about my wife," I said. Later that night, she sent me a text message requesting some space tonight. "I understand that you won't be pleased, but please respect my decision," she wrote. Subsequently, she switched off her phone and claimed that she had spent the night in her car in an empty lot. When she returned home, I expressed my understanding yet firmness that such an incident could never reoccur. She had completely altered her perspective on life. She no longer desired children and wanted to terminate our relationship. The most revealing statement she made was, "I am afraid we will both cheat on each other in the future." Several events have occurred since then, including her departure from the state for 2 weeks because she required some space. Yesterday evening, I discovered that she had slept over at her instructor's residence after watching a movie together. Additionally, I stumbled upon a photograph of the two of them. What's even more distressing is that I was the one who had urged her to pursue this career, and she would not have met him if I had not introduced them. I have not yet confronted her, but I am currently piecing together all the clues regarding this matter. She is essentially accusing me of causing all of our problems, stating that I am domineering and that she dislikes the way I communicate with her. She claims that I insult her by calling her names, but after doing some introspection, I cannot find any justification for her accusations. I recommended that she seek mental health assistance, but she interpreted it as an insult. I emphasized the significance of communication when she stopped responding to my calls and messages, but she perceived it as an attempt to control her, even though I did not object to her being away from home for over 3 weeks. Lastly, she has recordings of me that were made without my knowledge. She believed that these recordings were evidence of my psychological abuse towards her. However, I shared them with my therapist, who disagreed that there was any form of mistreatment in the recordings and was even impressed with how composed and rational I was during the conversation. Nevertheless, none of these explanations justify her infidelity or her mistreatment of me. I suppose I am still in the process of investigating the situation. I am attempting to refrain from influencing her decisions while I gather more information. Nevertheless, it is a challenging task, and the individual whom I once adored more than anything has utterly destroyed our entire existence together. In just 3 weeks, I am at a loss for words, and I am unsure about how to express my current emotions. Fortunately, I have an excellent support system and caring parents. Now I have experienced heartbreak, and I never want to endure this type of pain again. I had a conversation with my wife, but she demanded that her parents be present. During our talk, she was hostile towards me and displayed no regret or compassion even when I became emotional and poured my heart out to her. The following day, she came to my house, and at last I was able to speak with her privately. I challenged her about the inappropriate relationship, but once again she involved her parents, and her mother tried to justify the affair with absurd excuses. At present, I have cut off all communication with her, but I have observed a transformation. The tide has turned. After discovering the affair, I completely changed my attitude towards her, and she has begun to falter. Last Wednesday, her parents came to visit, and I was finally able to have a conversation with her. Although her parents were present, I chose not to disclose the affair. During our discussion, I discovered that she had lied to me on several occasions. Despite her accusations, I maintained a calm and apologetic tone. The conversation was incredibly painful, as she essentially stated that I had mistreated her since the day we got married, and she had wanted to leave. She had never mentioned this to me throughout our entire relationship until now. She persisted in accusing me of emotionally abusing her by distorting my words from our previous conversations. Fortunately, my mother was present, and she called out my wife's lies since she was present during some of those discussions. During that conversation, two factors kept me strong. Firstly, I did not anticipate any possibility of reconciliation or regret, and secondly, I had a strategy for confronting her publicly in front of her parents. My plan was to expose her immaturity and mental instability while defending my own character. I emphasized the importance of seeking professional help for her issues to her father. The discussion concluded with my wife and her mother storming out of the room. However, her father remained with me and my mother. His emotions were genuine and spoke volumes about the situation. He sat there, and the first words that came out of his mouth were tearful apologies, saying, "I'm sorry, man." He was a father searching for answers, just like me. He expressed how much it pained him because he regarded me as his own son and always would. This made me emotional, and I confided in him that I loved his daughter and wanted nothing more than for her to be healthy. However, I had reached a point where I needed to let her go. I disclosed to him about the affair and what I had discovered, and he comprehended my perspective. I emphasized the importance of holding her accountable for her actions, since she hasn't faced any consequences yet. Additionally, I emphasized the necessity for her to receive therapy. He confirmed that he has been attempting to persuade her to seek professional help, but without success. Although our conversation wasn't solely focused on Peaches, achieving my two objectives provided me with a sense of relief, and I was pleased to have a father-in-law who comprehended the situation. The following day arrived, and upon returning home from work, I discovered my wife packing up some of her belongings. I made sure to be present to prevent her from taking any of my possessions. We had a peaceful conversation about her future aspirations, and I even repaired a component on her car. She disclosed that she intended to remain employed until the end of her tenure and expressed her desire to acquire the necessary certifications to become a flight instructor. When I inquired about her living arrangements, she remained tight-lipped. During our conversation, I expressed my perplexity regarding her recent actions and stated that they were illogical. She responded by stating that she was content with her current workplace. When I asked directly if she was engaging in an inappropriate relationship with someone, she averted eye contact and denied the allegation. But I informed her that I had evidence to the contrary and referenced a few specific instances. I inquired about her activities on Wednesday night and questioned the individual she conversed with for an hour and a half at 11 p.m. during a bachelorette party in June. Upon presenting her with the call history, she acknowledged that the number on her phone belonged to P, but she continued to evade the accusation. Despite her efforts, I remained composed and resolute, urging her to come clean and informing her that it would be easier for both of us if she did so. It was disheartening to witness a grown woman of 28 years behaving like a child caught in a lie. The most surprising part of our conversation occurred when she suggested involving her parents. I was bewildered by her request but agreed without hesitation. Prior to presenting any evidence, her mother began making excuses for her daughter. She suggested that it could have been a prank call or that the issue had arisen after we had encountered problems in our relationship. I calmly disputed her mother's claims and asked her to consider the evidence objectively. I then posed the question of whether or not there was an inappropriate relationship taking place. Despite my efforts to seek the truth, her mother refused to respond and accused me of attempting to manipulate her into making a statement, just as I had done with her daughter. When they ran out of excuses, all three of them departed from my house, and her mother remarked that she hoped I would not treat the next girl in the same manner as I had treated her daughter. It was evident that the family dynamic was severely dysfunctional, as her father remained silent throughout the interaction, visibly struggling to manage both his wife and daughter's behavior. Later on, my wife sent me a text stating that P was one of her closest friends. During this time, I was experiencing significant emotional distress, and my wife and I had separated. However, when I confronted her about the infidelity, she essentially admitted to it. She requested that we discuss the matter with her attorney present, but I cautioned against involving lawyers, given that she had committed several felonies by recording me without my consent. Since Thursday, I have not communicated with her, but with the assistance of everyone here, the situation's dynamics have altered significantly. This will be the final point I will bring up, and it may prove beneficial in determining the next course of action. I observed that she attended church on Sunday morning, which she had not done with me in quite some time, although we had previously attended services together frequently. Later that day, we embarked on a 500-mile road trip to a remote location before returning to her residence. She has not exhibited any suspicious behavior since that time, either out of caution or recognition of her wrongdoing. I genuinely believe that she did not engage in sexual activity. The additional information is irrelevant as I have already gathered sufficient evidence to proceed. I have initiated divorce proceedings and she will receive the summons within the next couple of weeks. Update. A significant aspect of our story pertains to our shared dog. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I entrusted her with the responsibility of taking care of our canine as I was in dire need of a break. I work full-time and our pet was experiencing severe separation anxiety. Recently, she gave our dog back to me, infested with fleas, and requested me to take care of him once again. Despite this, we had a productive conversation. As previously mentioned, she had an affair with her flight instructor while I was providing financial and educational support for her aviation career. As I am already a pilot, I had my doubts about her reasoning for cheating. It appears that she encountered difficulties while flying, and her instructor may have suggested that she increase her flying frequency by paying more. Consequently, she requested additional funds from me to support her flying lessons. It's worth noting that she was already flying for 3 hours per week, which cost approximately $750 weekly. When I expressed my reluctance to increase our family's financial burden, she may have resorted to using her body as a means to obtain free lessons. In any case, she accused me of being a controlling, manipulative, and narcissistic individual for refusing to allocate more funds towards her dream of flying. It seems quite immature, doesn't it? Fast forward to last Friday when we had a conversation. I inquired about her flying progress, and she disclosed that she had given up on it due to the high costs and the need to clear her head. As a result, she abandoned the very reason that led to the downfall of our marriage. Moreover, I suspect that she may have ended her relationship with the person she cheated on me with. She stated that she was residing on a pull-out bed in a residence shared by 6 individuals and 2 canines. Her roommate is a colleague in her 40s who is currently living with her parents following a recent divorce. Within a mere 2 months, my spouse's life took a drastic turn. She went from enjoying an amazing lifestyle where she didn't have to work and had a husband who sponsored her aviation lessons in our private airplane. We could take flights whenever we pleased. She now resides in a house with 6 other individuals and works a job that barely meets her needs. Another aspiration that she abandoned was to become a flight attendant for a prominent airline. Despite being called back to work in July, she declined the offer. I inquired whether she had reconsidered. I have numerous acquaintances who are employed by the airline, and she expressed discomfort at the prospect of encountering them while on duty. Despite this, she remains unapologetic, and I believe she still holds me responsible for her current predicament. Nonetheless, the harsh reality is setting in, and it's hitting her hard. I've urged her to seek professional assistance for her mental well-being, and we have mutually decided to reach a divorce settlement without involving the court. Therefore, things are starting to look better for me in this scenario. Yesterday was my birthday, and I feel fortunate to have a supportive family and friends who wished me well and have been there for me during this challenging time. The most amusing comment I received was, "You can keep all of our mutual friends." She is aware that she made a significant mistake and is ashamed to be in the company of individuals who are aware of her actions. I'll be relocating to another part of the country in just over a month to join the military, and I'm hopeful that we'll begin an excellent new chapter in our lives. My only wish is for my soon-to-be ex-wife to receive the necessary treatment to prevent her from spiraling down a path of no return. It's been a while since I provided an update, and my life has undergone a significant transformation. I relocated to California, and as time passed, my anger towards her actions intensified. I no longer attribute her behavior to borderline personality disorder, but instead, I recognize how flawed of a person she is. Upon reflection, I realized how terrible and deceitful she truly is. Her conduct was extremely distressing and traumatizing for me. However, after grieving and feeling miserable for a couple of months, I managed to retrieve my airplane and resumed engaging in activities that bring me joy. I traveled across the country with my father, spent some time in Las Vegas with buddies, went skiing, and started a new job. I could finally relish life again, and in December a burden was lifted when we reached a divorce settlement through mediation. Although I'm not thrilled about having to provide her with financial support, it's a small sacrifice to make to rid myself of her toxic presence permanently. The most significant surprise came this week when I learned that I was chosen to begin pilot training. It was unbelievable. I had attempted and failed numerous times before, but my persistence finally paid off. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I'm convinced that this relationship divorce was a significant hardship that has prepared me for brighter days ahead. I'm sharing my story with the hope of inspiring those who are currently experiencing a difficult phase in their life. Remember that there is a purpose behind every challenge, and life does get better eventually. I cannot express my gratitude enough to everyone who has supported and encouraged me through my darkest moments.